And your team, and all the sponsors of this event. It's my very great privilege to be presenting. My presentation is going to actually take you through what Uganda Investment Authority has packaged for investors. And when I say investors, most times when we talk about Uganda Investment Authority, the first thing that runs into everybody's mind is that we are talking about foreign investors. Uganda Investment Authority is for all investors, as long as you're an investor. So that means it takes into consideration the SMEs. Now, when we talk about Uganda, so many things come to mind. You begin thinking about Vision 2040. You begin thinking about the National Development Plan 3, and many things. But when we begin to look and think about a transformed Uganda, there are many things that we need to take out of the boardroom and bring it into the playfield. There are packages, and in this new frontier, we are talking about the economy, but we are also looking at components of social justice. When we are talking of transforming, we are transforming the grassroots. Probably the people who are working within the $1 sector that are actually providing some lucrative products that gets translated, but they seem never to move out of their circles. So we're talking about transforming, so we need to look at that. I just want to start my presentation by looking at the African scene. And when we look at the African scene, there's so much happening that we need to capture. The IMF says that by 2035, the number of Africans joining the work-age population will surpass the rest of the world combined. That's just Africa. We are probably looking at about 200 million youth who are staring into the space and waiting to see how they can become lucrative players in the market or the environment that they're going to own. Honorable Bajire talked about it. Some of us in this room are BBC. We were born before computers. We are still here with computers. And we get challenged when our little ones tell us that, you're underutilizing your handset. 5 years today, take your phone, and they're able to talk about so many things. So in this new environment, we need to be looking at challenges, but actually jumping straight away from the challenge and looking at it as opportunities, and opportunities that we can sustain. Now, from a Uganda open economy perspective, I think Uganda is a very free economy. We have established almost 100% foreign-owned investments in this country, 100% foreign-owned. We look also at a liberalized investment environment where investors have found Uganda actually a very lucrative area to come and invest. In the region, I think when we look at statistics from the region, we will realize that Uganda comes second, has overtaken Tanzania as an environment that is attractive for investing. So I'll quickly look at Uganda Investment Authority's mandate. In 1991, Uganda Investment got its first mandate, and that was facilitating and creating an enabling environment for investors. At that time, the majority of the investors that came in were actually foreign investors. As we began to open up the market and to begin to look at growing the Ugandan market, last year, Uganda Investment Authority got its new Investment Act, which is the 2019 Act. and it's looking at facilitating both foreign and domestic investment, and thus the creation of a one-stop center. In an attempt to look at the foreign, the direct foreign investment environment, you'll realize that we have a number of countries that have come in Uganda, China taking the second position, and it's continuously remained the second position. In 2016-17, India was number 2 with 104 investments. We begin to see areas like the UK and Canada coming into play. Now, all this can be good investments as long as it can translate to something that all Ugandans can benefit from, and also position Uganda as a major player in the bigger continent of Africa. In terms of domestic investments, in 2013 we had 124 domestic investments that were licensed. Between 2014 and 15 there was a drop, we only got 77. But in 2016-2017 that grew again to 138. The FDIs have remained more or less stable because in 2013 we had 337, which represented in terms of investment values $1.7 billion. Now, when you look at the Ugandan component of investment values, that has remained low. And it is because we have not in the past directly seen how to create synergies between the investors coming in, the players in the market, and how this can translate to a complete value chain that benefits every level. That's a chart just showing the... Now, I just want to talk about the SME environment. And as we discuss the SME environment in Uganda, we'll realize that the MSME are spread across all sectors. That means that if there's any interventions that we are going to be looking at, we cannot single out a sector. We have about 33% in commerce and trade, 10% in manufacturing, and 8% in other fields. Those are various fields. And this group employs over 2.5 million people in the employed sector, but there are a number of informal employment that is not captured. And as we begin to think about SMEs, there's a critical need to be able to profile. Unfortunately, the PS has left, but as we begin to own data, as we begin to collect data into the country, we then have the opportunities to be able to define the data and be able to address data according to specific programs. Now, there are definitions. Uganda has a definition of SMEs. So the first definition is, of course, the micro, which is a company that has 1 to 5 employees and an annual total asset of 10 million. The second is small enterprises, which employ between 5 and 49 and have a total asset base of 10 million, but not exceeding 100 million. And the last is the medium enterprise, which employs 50 to 100 people and assets of more than 100 million, but not more than 360 million. And when we talk about 360 million, we are talking about maybe $100,000. Now, what does the Department of Small and Medium Businesses in the Uganda Investment Authority focus on? The first thing is we focused on assisting potential investors in identifying and linking SMEs to become their strategic partners. This is now taking a very firm position. We are ensuring that because UIA became a well-known facilitator of investment, we need to see that translated home. If we cannot connect SMEs to become beneficiaries of the investment environment, then we are actually not transforming the country. The second thing we do is to promote and attract and facilitate registration. Now, Uganda Investment Authority became a one-stop center, and it's a one-stop center for Ugandans as well. As long as you know you're an investor, you can walk in, you can be provided information on setting up a company, and also being able to receive to receive your registration. The other thing is that as local investors, please, please, please visit our eBiz platform and register for investor licenses. We keep complaining, but Ugandans do not register. Let's register for investor licenses and benefit from the opportunities that you get out of the investor license platforms. The SME sector also looks at providing a nurturing opportunity and promoting and facilitation. Now, in the past, we have been doing it by running all over the country. We know that Uganda Investment Authority has identified 23 regional parks, which are going to be developed into industry and business development parks. We have taken a deliberate decision as an organization that in whichever park we have, we are going to create an incubator and business center for SMEs, specifically for SMEs, where they can begin to interact with the bigger business environment, but more specifically look at the technology, science, technology, engineering, and innovations that will propel their businesses to the levels they need. Today, we need to move away from the generic kind of business development and move into more practical and practice kind of business that will ensure the quality is sustained of a product and also the learning is enhanced. I want to quickly go to look at the issues that we need to look at as a team in terms of improving SME competitiveness. The first is the role of finance in growth of SMEs. The major challenge SMEs have, regardless of how much they get to know about financial literacy, is the inclusion. Most SMEs will not have enough finances or cash flows to be able to run businesses. I just want to share, how many of you have bought a chili which is called Lester's chilies? It's all over. How many? Let's just see. Yeah, there's one of us here, two. Now, Lester is a young man who started developing chilies. And when Uganda Investment Authority came into the country, they bought some of that chili. The Saudis decided they wanted to take 1 container of those chilies every month. He can't do it. One, because the chili value chain is not effectively developed. That means you have just a few people producing. Even if he was to set up a factory, we would then need to go back into the drawing board. And going back into the drawing board means you're looking at who are the farmers who are going to provide the chilies? How are they growing these chilies? How are they collecting it and getting it to the factory? So there are so many of these challenges that real cash needs to be translated along the value chain. In terms of what? In terms of enhancing and building models of new enterprise development, the kind of SMEs we would desire to develop are SMEs who engrasp the total technology environment, including the learning on the free space. Today, most of us don't travel if you have to learn. You have webinars, you have all these phones on the e-platform. Now, if we are talking about SMEs who actually, majority are still using feature phones, then there's a major challenge. And we need to look and see the investors who are in this country, who are dealing with that kind of environment, are they looking at the mass? Are they looking at development in Africa? We have most phone producers selling actually most of their high-end phones into Africa, but they're not affordable. To the chip project, we've been doing that, but we are taking it to the next level. And here we are going to be looking at linking direct youth after a bit of skilling to support SMEs in terms of doing certain activities within their business areas. We have youth that are good at marketing that if placed with a small SME can be able to get experience for themselves, but at the same time be able to drive the marketing or the accountabilities within the SME areas. We will also be connecting those SMEs that graduate from the youth apprenticeship programs to foreign direct investments in terms of their fulfilling their value supply chain. The other is effectively looking when working with partners in the areas that we are developing as SME workspaces, and we're looking at that as areas that will actually propel science, technology, engineering, and innovation. So we will be looking at really the machinery. We'll be looking at machinery that actually most SMEs cannot be able to purchase. And lastly, we will be doing research. I think Honorable Bajiri talked about it. Unless we can analyze our data, unless we can analyze that data and package it for use and for service delivery, we will not be able to effectively market or push the SMEs to benefit from foreign direct investments. I thank you.